There is a divine law, a spiritual current, a mystical key hidden in plain sight, and it turns with a single phrase. For every man and woman who dared to speak it with unwavering faith, the gates of lack crumbled. Poverty dissolved like mist before the morning's sun. For this is no ordinary statement. It is the sacred password to abundance. And no one who said it, truly said it, ever stayed broke. You see, your word is your wand. It is not mere talk, not idle speech, but the living seed of manifestation. What you declare with conviction, the universe rushes to fulfill. So many walk through life declaring their lack, rehearsing their limitations, wondering why their pockets remain empty and their dreams half-built. But those who learned to speak the language of divine supply, those who aligned their voice with the great law of prosperity, saw their circumstances turn as surely as the tide obeys the moon. The law does not care about your past, your bank balance, or the debts stacked against your name. It only listens to your present word, and if that word is one of lack, it multiplies lack. But if that word is one of power, of unseen abundance, of unwavering expectation, it must deliver. That is the immutable principle, the rhythm of divine compensation. There is a phrase, a declaration, that the wealthy in spirit have always known. A simple utterance that shifts the frequency of your whole being. And when it is spoken, not doubting, not begging, but knowing, it calls forth provision from the invisible. Jobs appear. Opportunities unfold. Doors swing open where before there were only walls. This is not magic, it is not wishful thinking, it is law. Invisible law, yes, but law nonetheless. And like gravity, it does not fail. You are not here to chase money, to strain, to scramble. You are here to align, to speak with authority, to claim the abundance that is your divine inheritance. And let me remind you, no one, not a single soul, who said this with faith, stayed broke. The turning point came the moment they turned their tongue to truth. The universe rearranged itself in their favor, as it will for you. Because when you speak from the place of divine knowing, all of heaven leans in to respond. Your word is your wand. Speak abundance, not lack. This is not poetry, nor is it metaphor. It is truth, a spiritual law as certain as gravity. What you speak into the ethers is what you call into form. Your word is not idle noise, it is a vibrational force that moves the unseen into the seen. When you say, I can't afford that, you set into motion a current of lack. You sign an invisible contract with limitation. But when you say, everything I need is already on its way to me, you invite divine supply to rise and meet you. Your speech is not separate from your reality. It is the blueprint from which reality is built. There are those who go through life unaware of the creative power of the tongue. They speak carelessly, proclaiming their worries, their debts, their inability to make ends meet, and then wonder why life delivers more of the same. They rehearse their troubles as if by doing so they can control them, but all they are doing is watering the weeds instead of the flowers. Every spoken word is a seed, and the soil, which is divine substance, does not discriminate. It will grow whatever is planted, fear or faith, lack or plenty, complaint or gratitude. The universe hears you, not through your hopes, but through your declarations. The individual who understands this principle knows that their word is the first act of creation. Just as in the beginning, the world was spoken into existence, let there be light. So too must your world be spoken into harmony. What you say about money, about work, about opportunity, shapes your magnetic field. Speak scarcity, and your field contracts. Speak abundance, and your field expands to receive it. The universe cannot override your vibration. If your words say, there's never enough, that is the door you keep open, and through it, more insufficiency will arrive. It takes discipline to watch the tongue. It takes spiritual maturity to stop oneself before uttering, I'm broke, or that's too expensive, or that'll never happen for me. These are not harmless phrases. They are affirmations of misalignment. They are tiny curses spoken over your own harvest. Each time you declare lack, you reinforce it. But each time you declare provision, even when the outer world does not yet reflect it, You are choosing to walk by divine sight, not material sight. You are standing in the truth of the invisible supply that is always, always present. To speak abundance does not mean you lie or pretend. It means you choose which reality to give your energy to. It means you acknowledge the facts, but you do not make them your truth. The facts may say your account is low, but truth says divine supply is unlimited and already moving toward you. The facts may say you've lost a job, but truth says that every closed door is followed by a greater one. The tongue that speaks abundance sees beyond the immediate. It claims what is coming before it arrives. It blesses what is not yet visible. And in doing so, it magnetizes the very blessings it names. Most people were trained from childhood to speak fear, to speak what they see, to declare problems and call it being realistic. But realism rooted in fear is just another form of surrender to limitation. To be spiritually realistic is to speak the truth of divine law, even when the material world looks barren. It is to say, I am provided for in every way, when your wallet is empty. It is to say, I prosper wherever I go, when the doors seem closed. This is not delusion, this is creative power at work. Your word draws the unseen into form. What you repeat, you energize. There are those who experience sudden shifts in fortune simply because they changed the language of their life. They stopped calling themselves broke. They stopped cursing their work. They stopped declaring how hard everything was, and instead, they began to say, money flows to me easily. I am a magnet for divine opportunities. Everything I touch turns to gold. These words, spoken with faith, become commands. They do not merely echo in your mind, they set the invisible gears of the universe into motion. Supply begins to find you. Solutions appear. The tide turns not because the world changed, but because your word changed the world you see. There is great responsibility in understanding that your word is your wand. It means you can no longer afford the luxury of complaining. It means that sarcasm, self-pity, and casual despair are not just bad habits, they are spiritual sabotage. Every word you speak is a decree, and so, the wise individual speaks with intention. They guard their tongue like a sacred instrument. They speak only what they wish to see made manifest. They do not curse their finances, even in jest. They do not speak ill of their future, even in uncertainty. Instead, they bless their path, their income, their gifts, their potential. This is not a matter of being cheerful or optimistic. This is a matter of aligning with divine law. The law that says, as you believe, so shall it be done unto you. And your belief is most clearly revealed through your speech. You may say you believe in abundance, but if your daily language is filled with lack, your true belief has been exposed. Belief is not what you say in meditation. It's what you say when you're under pressure. When the bills arrive. When the job falls through. When the numbers don't add up. In those moments, do you speak abundance? Do you say, even now, the supply is coming? Or do you repeat the old pattern? It's always like this. Nothing ever works out. I never have enough. Your reality bends to your word. To speak abundance is to retrain the tongue and renew the mind. It is to catch yourself in the middle of a limiting sentence and redirect it. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, say, that is coming to me in divine timing. Instead of saying, there's no way, say, the way is being made clear. Instead of saying, money doesn't grow on trees, say, money is spiritual substance and it flows freely. These are not games of language. They are realignments of frequency. You are broadcasting to the universe with every word you utter. Speak what you want to receive. Speak what you wish to become. Speak what aligns with truth, not appearances. Speak abundance. The law of prosperity responds to unwavering faith. This is not a wish, not a hope, not a gamble. It is a principle, a spiritual law unchanging and impartial. It is not moved by pleading. It is not activated by anxiety. It does not respond to half-belief, to occasional declarations, or to the wavering of the double-minded. It moves in accordance with faith. Faith that stands firm, that does not flinch, that knows what it knows even in the absence of proof. Just as a seed planted in soil will grow when given the right environment, so too will the substance of prosperity rise to meet the one who believes without hesitation. Faith is not merely an emotion. It is not a burst of spiritual excitement that fades with the setting sun. It is a posture, a state of knowing so deep that it becomes your foundation, your breath, your rhythm. Unwavering faith does not ask, "What if this doesn't work?" It declares, "It is already done." And when that declaration is sincere, when it is felt in the marrow of your bones, the law of prosperity begins to yield its treasures. For the law is exact, it mirrors your inner world. It is not moved by desperation. It is moved by certainty. Those who live in constant worry over money often misunderstand this. They think they must strive, beg, prove their worthiness. They think they must do more, push harder, grind endlessly just to stay afloat. But all the while their hearts are filled with fear. And fear, no matter how much effort is wrapped around it, cannot yield abundance. Because the law hears the energy behind the action. If you are working from faith, your harvest will multiply. If you are laboring from fear, your efforts become dust in the wind. It is not your action alone that produces wealth, it is the vibration with which you act. Unwavering faith is still when others panic. It holds firm when the facts look bleak. It is not blind, it simply sees beyond the facts. It is not foolish, it is rooted in spiritual truth. It says, "The supply is already prepared. My needs are already met. The way is being revealed, even if I do not yet see it." This faith is not fragile. It does not break under pressure. In fact, it often emerges strongest in moments of greatest challenge. Because in those moments, all illusions fall away, and the soul must choose what it truly believes. You cannot fool the law with lip service. You may speak affirmations daily, but if your inner posture is fear, doubt, and worry, then that is the message the law responds to. The law of prosperity does not respond to words, it responds to conviction. It listens not to what you say once, but to what you hold constantly. Faith is consistency. It is spiritual muscle built through repetition, through testing, through choosing again and again to trust the invisible over the visible. There are many who start strong. They declare boldly. They affirm daily. But as soon as results do not come in the time they expected, they fall back into doubt. They question the law. They question themselves. They speak of divine timing but secretly harbor frustration. This is not unwavering faith. It is conditional faith. And conditional faith is powerless. It is like a flame exposed to the wind. It flickers, it fades, it cannot warm or illuminate. The law of prosperity waits patiently, but it does not respond to instability. It aligns with the one who says, "Even now, even here, I know that all is working together for my good." To cultivate unwavering faith, one must learn to become inwardly still. To quiet the noise of the world, the voices of limitation, the echoes of past disappointments. To sit with oneself in silence and remember the truth, that divine substance is infinite, that nothing is too hard for spirit, that every desire is already known and answered before it is spoken. This knowing must become more real than the numbers on the screen, more powerful than the letters in the mailbox, more present than the opinions of others. Faith is not built on appearances. It is built on spiritual substance, which is eternal and unchanging. Many wait for signs before they believe. But the law does not work that way. You believe first, and then the signs appear. You walk forward as if the path is already clear, and in doing so, you clear it. This is why unwavering faith is so powerful. It moves ahead of manifestation. It pulls the future into the present by its sheer certainty. And the law of prosperity, being governed by spiritual cause, cannot help but respond. Fear will always knock, doubt will always whisper. But unwavering faith does not entertain them. It sees them as passing clouds, and does not build its house upon their shadows. It builds on rock, not sand. It anchors itself in the reality of divine law, not in economic forecasts, family patterns, or past failures. It knows that the power that created universes is the same power that flows through you. And that power does not run out. It does not falter. It does not play favorites. It responds to alignment. You do not need to understand how the supply will come. That is not your concern. Faith does not micromanage the method. It trusts the outcome. It opens the door, it keeps the porch light on, it prepares the room. It walks as if the answer is already here. And when you walk like that, talk like that, think like that, the law of prosperity has no choice but to match your vibration. There are those who have very little by material standards, but their faith is unshakable, and abundance begins to find them in miraculous ways. Not because they did everything perfectly, but because they held the vibration of certainty. They did not ask the law to prove itself, they acted as though it already had. This is the difference between wishing and knowing. Wishing is weak, knowing is magnetic, and the law of prosperity bends to knowing. You must choose daily, hourly, sometimes moment by moment, to return to faith. When a bill arrives unexpectedly, when the sale falls through, when the numbers don't add up, you stop. You breathe, you remember. The law has not changed. Supply has not diminished. You are not being tested, you are being trained to hold faith in the face of contradiction. This is the spiritual practice. This is the hidden wealth. Not what is in the account, but what is in the soul. There are no accidents in this law. If you declare wealth, if you stand in that truth, the doors will open. Maybe not in the way you imagined, maybe not on your timeline, but they will open. The key is to keep the vibration steady, to be unmoved by appearances, to hold your tongue when the old pattern wants to speak, to guard your thoughts like treasure, because they are the currency of the unseen. And when those thoughts are shaped by unwavering faith, they become gold. Declare supply, not need. Manifestation follows belief. Every word you speak is a signal to the universe. Every sentence is a silent instruction, a blueprint, a permission slip for what can or cannot be built in your reality. When you declare need, you are affirming its presence. When you declare lack, you are claiming it as your own. The law does not discern between what you want and what you fear. It responds to what you declare as truth. If your conversation is filled with, I need, I don't have, I wish, you are confirming absence. You are turning your gaze toward the void and expecting it to return something of substance. But when you declare supply, you call into form the abundance that already exists in the invisible. The moment you say, I have everything I need, you begin to tune your energy to the frequency of provision. This is not delusion, it is alignment. This is not denial. It is creative truth, for spiritual law responds to the inner climate, not outer conditions. If you stand in the vibration of supply, even when the shelf is empty, the shelf begins to fill. If you walk as if the path is paved, the stones rise up to meet your feet. But if you continuously affirm your need, the law will continue to mirror it. Need is not the magnet for manifestation. Belief is. You were not born to beg the universe. You were not designed to declare desperation. Your spiritual inheritance is not in constantly affirming what's missing. You were created in the image of divine power, and your word holds the same authority. When you declare supply, you are not pretending. You are awakening to the greater truth that provision is already present, simply awaiting your recognition. The substance of what you need is around you now, and it begins to shape itself into form the moment you stop affirming its absence. The words, I need, carry a vibration of separation. They assume that what you desire is outside of you, far away, unavailable. But divine law works from within to without. If you feel something is missing, it is not a call to plead, it is a call to align. Instead of saying, I need money, you declare, money is circulating freely through my life. Instead of saying, I need clients, you affirm, those who are seeking my service are already finding me. You shift your statement from lack to fulfillment, from separation to embodiment. This is how belief draws the invisible into form. When you speak of need, you rehearse powerlessness. You remind yourself of what you believe you do not yet possess. And this repeated pattern becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. The law does not override your declarations. It echoes them. You cannot expect the law to deliver supply while you continue to speak in terms of lack. It is not enough to wish for abundance. You must speak as if it is already yours. You must claim it with authority. This is not arrogance. This is spiritual obedience. The law works through certainty, not hesitation. There is no virtue in constantly declaring struggle. It may be familiar. It may even feel humble, but it is not aligned with truth. Truth is that divine substance is infinite and present now. Truth is that your desires are known and supported. Truth is that your word activates that support. When you say, "I have more than enough," even while appearances say otherwise, you are planting a seed in the invisible. That seed, watered with belief and consistency, must grow. But if you keep digging it up with declarations of need, it cannot take root. Many believe that if they speak boldly of supply, they are ignoring their problems. But spiritual law does not operate through the lens of problem. It operates through the lens of cause. The cause of your outer world is always your inner belief. If you want the form to change, you must change the cause. And that begins with speech. Not just words spoken aloud, but the silent speech of your mind, the conversation you have with yourself about money, opportunity, success, and provision. Every internal statement carries weight. Every internal declaration is a vibration that moves the substance of your world into order or disorder. Declaring supply is an act of spiritual dominion. It is the refusal to be ruled by appearances. It is the choice to speak as if the law is true, even when your senses suggest otherwise. You do not wait for proof before you declare. Your declaration is the proof. The one who waits to see before they believe is a servant of circumstance. The one who believes before they see is a master of manifestation. And mastery begins with speech. With every declaration of supply, you are exercising the creative power of belief. You are building the invisible structure that the material world must follow. There is a rhythm to this, a practice. You do not declare once and then slip back into fear. You declare daily, hourly, moment to moment if needed. You anchor yourself in the vibration of sufficiency. You catch the inner voice that wants to whisper, "Not enough," and you replace it with, "I am fully provided for." You interrupt the pattern of fear with the frequency of truth. You do not argue with lack. You speak over it. You override it. You reprogram the atmosphere with your word. It is not the size of your desire that matters, it is the strength of your belief. A whisper of faith is more powerful than a scream of fear. And belief is shown in what you declare. Those who walk in prosperity are not necessarily the most talented or the most fortunate. They are often the ones who refuse to speak from lack. They refuse to call need their identity. They refuse to define their world by their bank statement. Instead, they spoke from the realm of the unseen, and the seen had to adjust. To declare supply is to become magnetic. It shifts your posture. It opens your awareness. It trains your intuition to spot opportunities that once seemed invisible. It attracts people, ideas, and circumstances that resonate with your spoken truth. The law cannot resist a consistent declaration. It does not weigh your worthiness. It does not ask if you've earned it. It simply mirrors the command you give it through belief. When that command is, "Supply is mine now," then supply must obey. Because all form is the servant of spiritual cause, and the highest cause is belief. There is no need too great, no gap too wide, that cannot be closed by a shift in declaration. What you speak must reflect what you desire, not what you fear. Speak abundance when the cupboards are bare. Speak increase when the flow feels slow. Speak fulfillment when the answer seems delayed. Because delay is not denial, it is preparation, and your consistent declaration is the invitation that draws it forth. Declare supply, not someday, not later, but now. Because manifestation does not wait on time, it waits on belief. Abundance is your divine inheritance, not a reward. This truth stands at the center of spiritual law and cannot be altered by tradition, opinion, or external condition. You were not placed on this earth to strive endlessly, to earn the right to have enough, or to prove yourself worthy of supply. You were born with access. You were born into the flow of an infinite substance that cannot run out, cannot be diminished. and cannot be restricted unless you agree to restrict it within your own consciousness. Abundance is not something you have to chase, barter for, or beg for. It is already assigned to you by divine design. The confusion arises when people mistake supply for something earned through effort alone. They are taught from an early age that if they work harder, push more, deny themselves, and follow all the right rules, eventually they might be blessed with enough. This belief creates an atmosphere of unworthiness and struggle. It trains the mind to think in terms of transaction, not truth. It conditions the heart to feel separate from the very good it longs for. But spiritual law is not a system of merit, it is a system of alignment. It does not deliver abundance because you have checked the right boxes. It delivers it because you have claimed what is already yours. To inherit something means it belongs to you by birthright, not by achievement. It means it cannot be taken, though it can be ignored. The inheritance of abundance is not in a bank account or an external source. It is woven into your being, waiting to be activated by awareness. The moment you recognize this truth, you shift from seeker to receiver. You move out of the vibration of striving and into the vibration of allowing. You no longer try to earn abundance, you express it. You no longer try to manufacture success. You radiate the belief that it is already part of your path. There is no law in the universe that rewards suffering with wealth. Suffering is not spiritual currency. Lack is not a badge of holiness. Struggle does not create virtue. These ideas may have been passed down through generations, but they are misinterpretations of divine principle. Abundance has always been yours, even before you asked, even before you imagined it. It is not given in exchange for sacrifice. It is revealed through consciousness. The more you attune to this idea, the more you will begin to experience supply in all its forms: material, emotional, spiritual, and relational. When you look at nature, you see this principle illustrated perfectly. The sun does not ration its light. The trees do not compete for air. The ocean does not calculate how much water to hold back. All of creation moves in a rhythm of overflow. You, being part of that same divine design, are also built for overflow. Not just to survive, but to thrive. Not just to get by, but to expand. And this expansion is not selfish. It is sacred. Your abundance blesses others. Your prosperity creates a ripple of opportunity, beauty, and generosity. That is why it is your inheritance. Because it is meant to flow through you, not just to you. To access this inheritance, you must first release the belief that you are separate from it. As long as you see abundance as something out there, something you might reach if you try hard enough, you are standing outside the gates of your own kingdom. The truth is, you are already inside. The vault is open. The treasure is within. But you must choose to believe it. You must speak it. You must act as if it were true, even before the evidence appears. Because the law does not respond to waiting. It responds to knowing. And the moment you know that abundance is yours, the law moves to fulfill that knowing. Do not mistake temporary lack for eternal truth. There may be seasons where the outer world appears lean, where the flow seems hidden, where resources seem delayed. But those seasons are not a reflection of your worth or your future. They are simply echoes of old beliefs, dissolving as you step into greater awareness. They are opportunities to stand in your inheritance even when the world says otherwise. They are chances to declare, I am prosperous, I am provided for, I am supplied, with unwavering conviction. This declaration is not wishful thinking, it is spiritual alignment. There is no spiritual nobility in lack. It teaches nothing except fear. It breeds anxiety, not growth. Yet many cling to it because it feels familiar. It feels like the way things have always been. But familiarity is not the same as truth. Just because you've lived in lack does not mean you belong to it. Just because others have struggled does not mean you are destined to struggle. Your inheritance is untouched by history. It is untouched by generational patterns. It is untouched by the limitations of your past. It exists now, as fully as it ever will. You are not waiting for it to be formed. It is waiting for you to claim it. There are no outer forces withholding your good. The only gatekeeper is belief. The law cannot force abundance upon someone who insists on seeing themselves as poor. It cannot override a consciousness of deprivation. But the moment you begin to speak from your inheritance, saying, "I have what I need, I live in abundance, I expect increase," you unlock the flow. The law responds swiftly to identity. When you identify as abundant, your world must reorganize to match that identity. Circumstances shift, people appear, ideas land, doors open, not because you earned it, but because you aligned with what was already yours. This inheritance is not limited to wealth alone. It includes peace, joy, fulfillment, and purpose. True abundance is never about money alone. It is about wholeness. It is about living in the fullness of who you are, without fear, without apology, without self-sabotage. It is about taking up space in the world, knowing that your presence is a gift, your gifts are valuable, and your path is guided. And none of these qualities are reserved for a chosen few. They belong to anyone who will accept them. The law plays no favorites. It distributes according to vibration, not virtue. The decision to live from your inheritance is a daily one. Every morning, you must choose to step into the awareness that you are not lacking anything. Even if you are building, even if you are healing, even if you are recovering, you are not broken. You are not missing any part of what you need. The substance of abundance is already within you, and as you continue to align with that inner truth, the outer expression begins to reflect it. You do not chase abundance, you reveal it. You do not earn abundance, you embody it. The law of divine inheritance operates through consciousness, and consciousness is shaped by what you consistently believe, speak, and expect. No one who truly aligned their word with truth stayed broke. This is not a poetic notion, nor is it a motivational phrase. It is a spiritual law, clear and exact. When a person speaks from a place of truth, when their word reflects the divine principle rather than the appearance of limitation, the material conditions must follow. Words are not passive, they are active instruments of creation. They carry power, vibration, authority, and when spoken in alignment with truth, they become the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Poverty, lack, scarcity, these conditions cannot remain where the word of truth is consistently declared and held with conviction. Truth, in the spiritual sense, is not what is seen or felt by the senses. It is what is eternally established in divine law. Truth is that supply is unlimited. Truth is that the universe is overflowing with substance. Truth is that every individual is connected to this infinite flow and can draw from it according to their level of belief and alignment. When someone begins to speak this truth, not casually, not occasionally, but consistently, they set in motion a chain of spiritual events that must result in visible change. The outer world is simply a reflection of the inner climate, and that climate is governed by the word. Many speak of their problems with absolute authority. They affirm their lack with passion, repeating phrases like, "I'm broke," "I can't catch a break," "Nothing ever works out for me," and then wonder why nothing changes. But these statements are not neutral, they are commands. They are decrees sent into the universal field. And the field, being neutral and responsive, brings forth what is spoken. It does not judge the declaration, it fulfills it. When someone says, "Money never stays with me," they are not describing a fact, they are affirming a belief. And that belief becomes law in their life. The key to change begins not with effort, but with speech. Those who broke free from the cycle of financial struggle did so not by luck, not by sudden external change, but by first shifting their word. They began to speak from truth, even before the truth appeared in form. They said, "I am always provided for," while their account was low. They said, "Abundance finds me with ease," even when bills piled up. They said, "I live in a universe of infinite supply," even when doors seemed closed. This alignment between speech and spiritual truth, rather than speech and material fact, is what turned their situation around. Their words became prayers in motion, spiritual technology working behind the scenes to bring harmony into form. You cannot truly align your word with truth and remain broke. because the vibration of truth repels lack. It lifts you out of the frequency where lack exists. It brings you into resonance with prosperity, and prosperity cannot help but reflect itself in your world. The process may not be instant, but it is inevitable, just as water wears down stone not with force, but with consistency. So too does the word of truth dissolve the illusion of poverty when spoken without doubt. It is not about merely repeating affirmations. It is about feeling the weight of what you say. The word must be alive in you. It must come from a deep place of knowing, or at least the willingness to believe. When your word and your belief begin to walk in agreement, the law responds swiftly. You are not trying to convince the universe, you are activating it. The power lies not in the words alone, but in the alignment between the words and the spiritual law they express. There are those who have tried speaking abundance, but then quickly fell back into old habits of speech, old emotional patterns, old mental rehearsals of limitation. They wonder why nothing shifted. The reason is that they did not truly align. Their word was divided, speaking truth one moment and fear the next. The law responds to the dominant vibration. It answers the loudest voice. If that voice is fear, the response will reflect it. But if that voice is truth, steady and unshaken, the response will be abundance. To align your word with truth means to discipline the tongue. It means refusing to speak against yourself, your finances, your potential. It means no longer making jokes about being broke, no longer repeating family patterns of self-deprecation or scarcity thinking. It means choosing words that reflect the divine order, even if the world laughs, even if others don't understand. Because you are not speaking for them. You are speaking into law. You are creating your world with every syllable. And your world must eventually reflect what you continually declare. You are not at the mercy of economy, circumstance, or background. You are governed by spiritual law, and that law listens to your word. It does not hear your situation. It hears your declaration. When you say, "I prosper in all things," the law begins to align people, places, and events to reflect that truth. When you say, "I am rich in ideas and opportunities," your mind opens to creative solutions that were previously hidden. When you say, "Divine supply meets every need," you begin to attract what matches that vibration. Those who rose out of lack and into lasting abundance did so by establishing a new pattern of speech. They made the word of truth their daily practice, their mental diet, their constant companion. They refused to give their energy to complaining, worrying, or predicting failure. They spoke from the mountaintop, even when they were still climbing the hill. They knew that the view must first be seen within before it could be seen outside. Their word was the builder, the architect, the signal that guided the manifestation into being. Alignment means agreement. When your words agree with truth, your life becomes the evidence of that agreement. There is no magic in this, only law. And law is dependable. It works without favoritism. The one who speaks from alignment may come from struggle, from pain, from generational scarcity. But the law does not remember the past. It responds to the present word. It answers the now. And in the now, if the word is truth, if it is spoken with belief, if it is repeated with reverence, then the outcome is inevitable. Lack has no permanent claim over any soul. It only lingers where it is fed, spoken, and believed. But the moment a person turns their word toward truth, they begin to drain the power from the illusion of lack. They reclaim their authority. They reestablish the original pattern of abundance that has always been available to them. This is not theory, it is spiritual law in motion. Those who aligned their word with truth, who did not waver, who did not speak against their own good, did not stay broke. They rose, they received, they reflected the richness of the law itself.